Hello there, everybody. Nick Dutch back on the camera yet again. How the heck's it going? Yep. When I was in school many years ago now, there was this guy who just would always see either Jesus or the devil in absolutely everything. And I mean absolutely everything. He had this obsession with things that may be possibly devilish. I mean, this guy, I feel sorry for him now because he was put through a terrible upbringing. He wasn't allowed to participate in Halloween celebrations in school because, of course, in inverted commas, we do not believe in that sort of thing. And stuff like that. It was all really rather extreme, so it must have had an effect upon him. Now, I don't know whether you remember this or have heard about this, but during the 60s and 70s, there was this idea that pop music or rock music had some kind of satanic messages entrained into the audio, so that when you played the single backwards, you could then hear the devil speaking. So he was convinced, because of this story, this folk myth, that the Beatles themselves were in fact Satanists, were in fact devil worshippers, and John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and all the rest of that were instruments of Satan himself. It's a point of view. It's not the right point of view, but it's a point of view. You know, I feel really sorry for him these days. I found it rather over the top, so to speak, during those days. But on the other hand, you know, that's where he was coming from. He's entitled to have his view. All I can do is hope and pray, so to speak, that he's had the opportunity to grow beyond that. But if you think about the exercise that people were doing in those days, whether they were eating magic mushrooms prior to listening to records being played backwards, what was the exercise about? Were they trying to listen to the devil in the sounds made by a record going backwards? Well, the way I see it, it's a form of divination in its own right. You take a series of sounds which seem to make very little sense, and you listen to them, possibly with a bit of fear or a bit of extra superstitious stuff thrown in for good measure. And hey presto, some people feel that they can hear a message coming through. Well, what is that? It's using pareidolia, or apophenia I think it's called, to try and get some kind of intelligible message from something which is apparently totally random. I reckon that what these people were doing were trying to use the modern technology of the time as a divination exercise. Now, I don't know whether you've tried this yourself, but have you ever tried sitting in front of a television which has been tuned out to white noise and just gazing perpetually for a long period of time at all the sparkles and hiss on the screen whilst listening to the white noise in the background? You know, try doing this every day for like 15 minutes for, you know, maybe a week or so, and see what how your mind reacts to it. Now, I've done this before, and it seemed like all the little white dots were not only moving around, but were sometimes making patterns, sometimes two-dimensional, sometimes even sticking out or receding and projecting from the screen itself. And sometimes it would seem that there's possibly even a voice coming through in the white noise audio. What I was, of course, probably doing was giving myself a variety of sensory deprivation, maybe. But although I haven't tried it, I do wonder what would have happened if I'd have read a very scary story before I tried this particular exercise, or I filled my head with some other symbolism, imagery, or ideas through a rather intense meditative exercise beforehand, and then sat in front of the TV screen or imagined in a hypnotic state that I was talking to some kind of demon or angel or archangel. Just for shits and giggles, just to see what happens. Just a thought for today. Nick Dutch signing out for now.